feel like I've planned everything out and now it's all sort of scattered about because I had this shiny new idea and now I can't decide what to do next. And I'm talking about my writing projects right now, but to be honest, it kind of feels like an accurate depiction of a lot of people's lives, especially those of us who are funemployed. But anyways, we can figure it out. We are outside, gang. I really like being outside these days, at least for the most part, because I have a newfound appreciation for the sun being on my face after recovering from a really bad period of chronic illness that prevented me from going outside to this degree of, frequency. So here we are, but I'm not gonna lie, it is loud as fuck out here. I am really hoping this footage is usable with this handy little mic and that it's not so insanely loud out here that you can't even listen to this. If you don't know me, hi, my name is Ali. I'm 27. I make zero income and I hope to someday make some income from writing and drawing stories. I'm an agented but so far unpublished author, and I started this year with a very clear idea of what I wanted to do. I wanted to finish my middle grade fantasy graphic novel pitch package and take it out on the submission, which I did. I wanted to do that by spring and I have succeeded at that, and we're not going to talk about how it's going so far. Fingers crossed, but I should pat myself on the back for that because I succeeded at that and I'm very proud of that. And then I wanted to create a zine about my immigration experience and release that, which I have not finished yet, but hopefully by the time you're seeing this, it will be out. I'm currently still working on it right now in the beginning of June and probably in the rest of this video, but in my brain, in order to release it, I have to not only finish it, of course, but I also have to majorly update my website, get it printed, see if I can do some physical copy, see if I can collaborate with the organization where I want to donate all the proceeds to. You know what? I'm not going to get into this. It's already out probably by the time you're watching this, or else I wouldn't put this in the video. So go watch another video about that. But right now, I am going to work on that a lot in the coming weeks. But then I have to figure out what I want to do next. So at the start of this year, I had 3 other projects in mind. I got my notes down here that I set goals for because I was confident. I was so confident that this was my plan. These were what were going to be my focus for this year, and that was 1, working on a 2nd season of my webcomic Duck and Kitten, which is a dark comedy, absurdist comedy about an evil crime-loving duck and the innocent kitten roommate that moves in with it. Right now, it's finished at 50 episodes, but I do want to do a 2nd season, and so far a loose script has been written but not finalized. Lots of ideas are still bouncing around and haven't been drawn yet, but that's okay. So we're in a good place with that. Oh my god, so much noise. Number 2, for what I wanted to complete, was a 2nd graphic novel manuscript. This time it's going to be what I think is a YA, maybe adult, psychological horror. I'm really excited about that one, and I've developed so much of it already, but also it's still in the beginning stages. The outline is not even complete yet, but I'm feeling good about that one, the story idea, and its prospects. But Number 3, I also wanted to get started on a prose novel. As you can see, I've mostly been doing graphic novels, and I made a whole video about it on my channel, which you can watch. It was an okay video, but the premise was not entirely built yet, and it still isn't. I mean, I guess the premise is sort of, but not really. Essentially, I want to write a novel about dream manipulations. These 2 queer women with dream manipulation as sort of superpowers that use it to fight some sort of evil, and that's pretty much all I really have concrete, and that might change too. I'm afraid birds are gonna attack me. Oh my god, can you see those birds in the background? Oh my god, I picked the worst day to go out here. I started off being really excited about the concept, first because I want to get more into writing prose instead of just graphic novels. I haven't written a full-length prose novel yet, and I still want to do that. But also because I've always wanted to tell a story about dream manipulation, about lucid dreams, about dreaming vividly, and the sort of mind powers we can have from that. And I still do really want to write that type of story one day, but I feel like in the beginning of this year, when I, set that video with my New Year's goals that I wanted to write 25,000 words of this prose novel by the end of the year, I feel like that was wishful thinking. I feel like that wasn't thought through enough. It might have been a mistake because I just don't think that idea is developed enough yet, and it obviously wasn't back then either, to encourage that. I'm very much a plotter. Once I have an outline, I really need an outline to understand where a story is going and to be able to really be I can complete this. But the whole Project Dream concept was just not solidified. It still hasn't solidified itself in my head. And the explanation I came up with it of it, like of what the story is last year, I can't think of like how to say this in English ever, whatever I want to say this, but in like Spanish it's like no me acaba de convencer, like it doesn't finish convincing me. I'm just not sure about it anymore, and I'm not inspired. But what did happen recently was a little spark of a new idea that I had. Well, it was an old idea that I had for a different prose novel, like ages ago, sort of warped into something kind of surprising for me, but also very exciting because it's not a genre I tend to gravitate towards in writing or reading. I'm not versed in it at all, and that is science fiction. So let's go back for a second. Always knew that part of me wanted to write another story, another book about immigration. And for context, my first graphic novel manuscript that did end up getting me an agent but didn't end up getting published, but it did get interest from editors at least. That was a book about immigration. It's a contemporary story about two girls who meet in a migrant shelter in the midst of an immigration crisis in New York City. And it's very near and dear to my heart, obviously, because it's the first book I've ever completely written. It got me an agent. It basically jump-started what I hope to be a career in publishing books, even if that itself didn't sell. And obviously it's a really personal topic to me, someone who was both a U.S. immigrant and literally worked at a New York migrant shelter, which is what inspired the novel. So it was very own voices, but also as time went on, the less and less proud I was of it, not because it isn't a very good and powerful story, but because I began to see it more and more among the lines of tragedy porn, and that does not have great connotations. So it was a very real and raw and serious story about immigration in the modern day, written in a very difficult, uncertain time in my own journey as an immigrant and in the political landscape. And the story reflected that. It sounds like I'm trashing it for being a tragedy, tragedy porn, but it is a little hard to write a story about immigration in the U.S. in the mid-2020s that is not at least a little bit devastating. Okay, so that was not working. I'm gonna film the rest of this intro surrounded by my SpongeBob plushies chilling in bed and all this art crap I'm working on. But to sum up, yeah, I basically, for my first book, I wrote a very real and raw and serious story about immigration in the modern day. And at the same time, I don't want to trash it for being just tragedy porn, but I do want to write a different story that incorporates my humor in it, because not to toot my own horn, but objectively, I'm a very funny and hilarious person, and I want that to reflect in my work. But I also want to talk about immigration. I definitely want to write more stories about immigration because it's a topic that is so personal to me, and I feel like I have a lot to say about it. I want to write about immigrants specifically, not even just the system of immigration. But the point being, I was basically wondering for a while how I can write another story about immigration that is not just super, super serious and devastating, because I've always wanted to share my humor with the world. And so my webcomic Duck and Kitten, as I mentioned, was the first complete story I ever released to the public under my name, and it was a dark comedy. And even before that, when I was making short comics, I was so excited to make people laugh, just like I am in real life. I do actually make a lot of jokes about immigration and about really dark topics, and so it was first in the back of my mind as another book I could write with immigration as a premise, and a subject was actually at first still quite serious. It was set in the mid-2010s and dual POV, so the other POV was in the mid-90s or something. It was a whole thing. I had it cooking in my mind for a while, and then recently it ended up morphing itself into something entirely different. So now the prose novel I have in mind is now set in the 22nd century. It is sort of satirical, sort of dark humor, but I hope to also, I don't know if I want to make a statement. I definitely don't want to be preachy, but I feel like I found a setting that is really interesting, science fiction setting where I can explore more, or I can be sort of satirical, but also explore characters that have gone through some of the things I've gone through, but in sort of a distant sense, something that could really appeal to a lot of people. It's just more of a commentary, and not only on immigration. Now it's morphed into something different and something more complex. It's a commentary on generative AI. It's so many other things that are impacting society. It comments on a lot of that, but with aliens and space travel. So is it gonna be devastating? I don't know, but it will hit those beats that I'm sort of wanting to scratch that itch with a story, and I will be, I think, very marketable, at least as it's cooking in my mind. It's still cooking in my mind, but I'm really hoping to make something out of it. Anyway, I have yapped a lot now, and I need to stop. All this is to say that my plans may have changed, and I may very well be swapping out having my goal be to work on Project Dream, and swapping that out for working on what I'm now calling What am I calling it? I don't know. I don't know what I'm calling it. Maybe I'll decide by the end of this video. You know what? I'm really bad at this YouTube thing. Just cut to me working on the scene. Just cut. We are on the hunt for a pen to finish my zine. I've been looking for them all over. This is the kind I've used. The closest I can find is like a pasta pen that's like 0.3 millimeters less of thickness than what I usually use. So I'm gonna go see if it works. Hi, I'm sorry to come at you with my webcam and my shitty little microphone of my laptop, but I wanted to show you that I have finally finished the zine. Today is June 16th. I finished it throughout the weekend, and here I have like all my crap of like very sloppy inked and colored traditional pages. Really glad I did this traditionally. I am mostly a digital artist, or at least I have been for the past decade or so at this point. You know, with generative AI and everything, I guess that sort of also prompted me to, it wasn't the only thing, but I have started to like want to lean more towards at least putting in a little bit of the traditional, traditional inking, sometimes traditional coloring into my work. I did do digital sketches for these, which you probably already saw B-roll of. I hope I got some B-roll of it that I can put in this video, but I finished it and I went and I printed out the first copy, which is super exciting. Like, just to have this in my hands. Like, I don't know if anyone is gonna read this, but even if no one reads it, even if no one acquires it, even if it just dies like this, I made this thing. I actually made it. I wanted to do something and I fucking did it. I made a thing. It's 32 fucking pages and I can release something. I can have like a complete work of like my comics, of my writing that's out in the world and that exists, that I don't have to wait for, editors to reject me. So I'm really excited about that, and now I'm working on my website and it's been kind of a pain. I've been having to do a lot of work on it. I've put in a newsletter, so now if you want to be updated on whenever I have a big project coming out, which probably won't be often, you will get an email about it if you sign up on my website. And it's just I made it super bare bones, super like almost tacky old school, just like one web page, which compared to my old website was just like a huge, I don't want to say downgrade, because like I think it's an upgrade. We're downsizing. Maybe it's also the AI shit. Maybe it's also this like future that makes me want to do more of like an old school, like there's almost like a Comic Sans-y font in it too. And I hope it doesn't turn people off, seeing as it is an artist website, but like, I don't know. I think I'm liking how it is so far. I'm really proud of myself for being able to do as much coding on it as I have so far, because I'm not a coder, but I did play Neopets like 10 years ago and do some CSS and HTML for that. So I'm basically getting it all from that experience and a lot of Google. No AI though. We do not use AI up in here for coding. But yeah, I'm super happy with how things are going right now. Because I was in a bit of a rut, suffer from a lot of executive dysfunction, and this too, it was like really hard to work on because it's a very personal story, and it was very triggering a lot of the time. So I was reading really down on myself about it. and I was like, oh, I can't finish this, I'm taking forever, because originally I wanted to finish this ages ago. But technically, I have finished it in the time frame I wanted to do, or more or less in the time frame I wanted to do, which was by spring, by the end of spring. And so I want to be really proud of myself because of that, because like it was a very hard thing to do. I know it's only like, it's not like the greatest illustrations ever, and it's only 32 pages, and some of those were comics I already did before, but it was a really hard subject matter, and like, who knows, maybe I will be able to raise some money with it, I don't know, but I made a thing. I beat that executive dysfunction for this round, and it's gonna come around another time. But I'm doing things, and I'm really proud of myself for that. And now I'm gonna keep working on my website, which is almost done, so that I can finally launch it and like release this and let people know that I made a thing. Like I said, we're in the middle of June, and when I'm finally done with this zine project of like releasing it and everything, I feel like I'm gonna have a now what moment, even though I know now what. I know that I'm either gonna work on a Project Days, my horror manuscript, or I'm gonna go full in on the project I still don't have a name for. Or maybe I'll do both. Maybe I'll be working on them in tandem. But you shall be able to see by the rest of this vlog. You don't know what I'm referencing. Yeah. Hello again. I don't know if I like this shirt, but we're working with it. Today is the last day of June, so we're gonna wrap up this vlog. And I think the way we're gonna do it is, one, I'm gonna give you some final updates about my projects and my future plans for other projects. And two, I'm just gonna talk a little bit. I'm gonna talk a little bit probably about how my mental health has been, which I think I've mentioned in this video, at least briefly, that it has not been great, and that I want to talk about it because like I don't want it to just be a very fake highlight reel when the reality is I'm sort of struggling right now. But first things first, little final updates about what has happened with my projects. I did release the zine, belated by a few days for reasons I will probably talk about in a minute. But you know, I released a video on my YouTube that's doing decent, you know, compared to the way my usual videos do. You know, social media, especially, you know, the only other place I posted it, which was Instagram, is tricky. We all know social media is tricky. I used to have quite an active Instagram account that had a lot of engagement, some fans, some audience, if I do say so myself. But you know, I've since sort of abandoned it, and I really don't post on it much. The Instagram account I do have for my art. And so I knew it wasn't going to get a lot of traction there, especially because it's like, whether or not I was posting or not, Instagram has just become such a different platform, so much more difficult to break out. It didn't get a lot of reach. It reached maybe 1,000 or 2,000 people and got like 80 likes and like some other engagement, which doesn't sound like big numbers, but if you look at the proportions of like engagement rate, it's a good engagement rate of what ended up being. But it's so funny to me because like the most engagement I got was like paragraphs of comments from this one guy hating on me, calling me pathetically laughable and honestly disturbing, and I'm not even gonna get into it, but it was very funny because like, guys, you know, you're just giving more traction to this post, right? But like, statistics aside of like algorithm engagement in social media, I think this project was a success. Again, like I said in the past video, I did a thing. I actually completed these like 30 plus pages of zine, and I'm getting out physical copies. I spent like 3 hours sometime 2 weeks ago contacting a bunch of zine distros, a bunch of zine festivals, a bunch of zine distributors, and now tomorrow my friend in New York is gonna pick up some like 100 copies to send out to one place in Brooklyn, one place in Chelsea, one place in Baltimore, another place in Chicago, where we will be able to raise more money, hopefully, for, this cause of, immigrant rights, which we've already raised money for. I've raised at least $100 from a zine subscription service, Zine-O-Matic, that included my zine in their shipment in exchange for them donating to IDP, Immigrant Defense Project. So that alone raised some money. I've heard from other people that they donated because they read my zine, and I'm hoping with the more physical copies that get out to people, both like this first batch and later on the year, it's going to be in Washington DC, a zine festival, and a Kansas City one, and an East Bay one later in the year. Maybe that will also raise some funds. So I'm like, I've done what I wanted to do. I never expected to make this like huge groundbreaking splash, but I did a little project, and it's done some good in the world, and I'm proud of that. I also finished revamping my website, and I'm so much more happier with it being a little bit more bare bones, more old school, like I said before. I just think it aligns more compared to the old version that was just a little bit too clunky. It aligns more with like what I'm into and like the bare necessities of it. And I guess, yeah, I think I'm ready to put those projects I've been focusing so much time on behind me and like keep going. And tomorrow, I think, fresh day, fresh start of a new month, I'm gonna like sit down and make more of a like planned list of like for my future projects, which, as you know, Project Days, the horror graphic novel manuscript project, still haven't found a name for it, the sci-fi prose novel, and making a season 2 of my webcomic. All of that, I'm gonna have to figure out, how I'm gonna tackle that. And I'm really excited to work on any of them, really, any of them at this point. I don't know which, schedule I'm gonna do it on or prioritization. I'm also really excited to make more videos. I hope to release quite a few in the next months. Maybe not quite a few. Maybe we have different definitions of quite a few, but I hope to still reach those goals I set at the beginning of the year, which I'm also gonna make a video on in a couple days, record a video on, because we're in the like half point of the year, and you're going to be able to watch that and see how my goals are actually doing mid-year. Like I said, we're ending June, and in July I've signed up for an intensive language course. It's going to be a few weeks of like 4 days a week classes, 3 hours a day. That hopefully won't be too much, and honestly I don't even want to do it. But it is like part of my goals. It is something I want to learn, even if I don't want to actively learn it. I'm doing all the things. And just to like touch a little bit on my mental health again, and just like how I've been going through life outside of this, like clearly being productive, clearly getting projects done and getting the things I want to get done, storytelling and everything, I have been struggling with my mental health. And, part of that is a lot of survivor's guilt I have. If you watch my video about growing up in Venezuela, that should say some things. And if you are aware of, which is the reason I had to postpone the zine by a few days, is because on the same day I was going to announce that these 2 devastating earthquakes, happened in Venezuela, and I'm not going to go super into detail about it because it's super depressing, but just the things I've been seeing, the cruelty I've been seeing from the government, people trying to stop the suffering, and also just like the bittersweetness too of how the community has come together. I've just been thinking a lot about it. I've been very melancholic. I've been very just sad. I was just sobbing one of these nights, and in general before that my mental health was also not great, but now it's mixing a lot with like the survivor's guilt, the nightmares I've been having. It's a lot, guys. I have a lot, going on in this head, and it would help if I just kind of turned it off for a while, but I can never really seem to. But I did want to at least mention that, and maybe not go super into detail right now. I'm sure many of you have already clicked off because, no one wants to hear this. Everyone wants to like kick back, relax, and watch their YouTube videos, maybe to inspire them. But for me, this YouTube channel is, mostly just a hobby, a way to connect with people, the few people that watch it, but also it serves as a video diary, so that in a couple of years I can look back and be like, hey, what was going on during that point? And I don't want to go back and like look at the highlight reel and either be like, oh, you were being so fake, or be like, oh, I thought I was having a worse time at the time, because like I want to be a little bit realistic. I want to like, be, not have it be just the highlight reel, be an actual reflection, maybe not a totally accurate reflection, but like talk a little bit about how I actually was in this moment of life. And this is how I am right now. I'm getting a lot of stuff done. I'm really proud of the work I've gotten done, but I'm also struggling mentally, and we're gonna have to deal with that. We're gonna have to like work with that, especially because, you know, this video is about being unemployed, or, you know, funemployed, and, you know, that means very different things for very different people. Like, I am in such a position of privilege, though I get to call this unemployment. I get to not have to worry about paying, you know, my bills, and I can just, you know, obviously there's a mental health aspect also to being unemployed in this like capitalistic society, of feeling like I'm not productive enough, I'm not making money, so I have less value, I have less worth. Obviously there's a lot of things that come with that, but like, I don't have to worry about bills, you know. I'm covered, financially stable in that aspect. So it could be so much worse, you know. For a lot of people who are unemployed, that's not the reality. But if you are someone who maybe is in a similar situation, or, you know, just took any value from this video, I appreciate you. This is sort of a semi-accurate depiction of my life, of being unemployed for this time in my life, which, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this, I literally can't seek employment under the visa I'm on, but hopefully, you know, within like a year or two, that situation will have changed, and maybe then, you know, maybe I will be a successful author with a book deal or something, or maybe I'll go out into the workforce, study something, find a job. Who knows? Maybe I'll still be making these videos. Who fucking knows? Maybe I'm being a little bit too reflective on life right now for this for this little video. I'm gonna end the video here. Thank you so much for watching and for sticking around. Please give me a like if you've gotten this far. That would probably make me smile. Maybe leave a comment, and just thanks. I hope you stick around. Bye bye.